My family found out about my new apartment and immediately told me to give it to my sister. Then she broke in with my spare key, claimed it was hers, and tried to apply for loans using my information. I need to get this off my chest before I lose my mind. I'm 27 male, and apparently, according to my family, I'm the most selfish person who ever lived. My crime: working hard, saving money, and buying my own apartment without asking anyone for help. Let me give you some background. I grew up in a middle-class family with my parents and younger sister, Ashley. From a young age, there was a clear dynamic in our household. Ashley was the golden child who could do no wrong, while I was expected to be the responsible older brother who took care of everyone else. When Ashley broke her toys, I was expected to share mine. When she needed help with homework, I had to drop everything to tutor her. When she wanted something I had saved up for my parents would guilt me into giving it to her because family shares everything. I learned early on that if I wanted anything for myself, I had to work for it quietly and keep it to myself. I got my first job at 14 washing dishes at a local restaurant. While Ashley spent her allowance on whatever caught her eye, I saved every penny. My parents praised her for being generous when she'd buy them small gifts with money they'd given her, while criticizing me for being obsessed with money when I declined to spend my earnings on family outings. Throughout high school and college, the pattern continued. I worked multiple jobs, took out student loans in my name only, and graduated with a degree in software engineering. Ashley, meanwhile, changed majors 3 times, extended her college years to 6, and had everything paid for by our parents. They called it supporting her journey of self-discovery. When I mentioned I was struggling with my loan payments while working 2 jobs, they told me I should have chosen a cheaper school. After college, I landed a decent job at a tech company. Nothing fancy, but it paid well enough. I lived in a tiny studio apartment in a rough neighborhood, cooking ramen and rice most nights, taking public transportation, and putting every spare dollar toward my loans and savings. My goal was simple: buy my own place by 30. It wasn't about luxury. It was about security and having something that was truly mine. Ashley, on the other hand, moved back home after college. She worked part-time at various jobs, never lasting more than a few months at each, because they were not fulfilling or too stressful. My parents supported her, saying she was finding herself and that not everyone could be as money-driven as me. The few times she did have money, she'd spend it on trips with friends, new clothes, or expensive dinners, always posting on social media about how important it was to live in the moment and spread joy. Here's where things get interesting. Last month, I finally did it. After years of sacrifice, I bought a small but nice 1-bedroom apartment in a good neighborhood. It's nothing extravagant, but it has updated appliances, good natural light, and it's close to public transport. I was over the moon. I'd achieved my goal 3 years early. When I told my family, I expected at least some congratulations. Instead, my mother's first words were, "Must be nice to have so much money." My father added, "I hope you remember that family helps family when they need it." Ashley just looked at the photos and said, "Wow, this is way too big for just one person." The apartment wasn't even fully furnished yet when the requests started. First, it was small things. Ashley needed a place to crash after a night out with friends. Could she store some boxes in my spare closet? Could she use my address for some mail? I said yes to most of it because I wanted to keep the peace. Then 2 weeks ago, everything exploded. I came home from work to find Ashley in my apartment with 3 of her friends. She had used the spare key I'd given her for emergencies. They were taking photos, measuring rooms, and she was explaining how she was going to redecorate when she moved in. "What are you talking about?" I asked, completely blindsided. Ashley rolled her eyes. "Mom and Dad said you'd eventually come to your senses about hoarding all this space. I'm just planning ahead." Her friends looked uncomfortable, but Ashley continued, telling them how I had a greed problem and that our parents were working on making him see reason. She actually used the words "greed problem" about my own apartment that I had bought with my own money. I asked them all to leave. Ashley threw a fit, calling me selfish and saying I was embarrassing her in front of her friends. She stormed out, but not before saying, "You'll see. Mom and Dad will make you understand what family means." Since then, it's been hell. My parents have called me daily, each conversation more guilt-laden than the last. They've used every manipulation tactic in the book. "We raised you better than this. Ashley's struggling and you have more than enough. What kind of brother lets his sister suffer while he lives in luxury? Family is supposed to share. You're acting like we're strangers. If something happened to us tomorrow, would you really want your last act to be denying your sister?" The thing is, Ashley isn't homeless. She lives rent-free in our parents' nice suburban home. She's not struggling financially because she doesn't have bills. She just wants my apartment because it's in a trendy area perfect for her social media posts and close to the nightlife she enjoys. My parents' latest argument is that I'm selfish with money and need to learn to share like Ashley does. They keep bringing up examples of Ashley's generosity, like the time she gave her old laptop to a friend after our parents bought her a new one, or when she donated clothes to charity that she was throwing out anyway, or when she pays for rounds of drinks at bars with the credit card our parents pay off. Meanwhile, they conveniently forget that I'm the one who paid for my grandmother's medication when Medicare wouldn't cover it all. I'm the one who helped fix their roof last year when they mentioned they were short on funds. I'm the one who's been automatically transferring money to a savings account for their future medical needs. But because I don't broadcast these things on social media or make a big show of it, I'm selfish. The latest development is that my parents have threatened to cut me out of their will entirely unless I prove I'm not selfish by giving Ashley my apartment freely and with love in my heart. They say it's not about the money or property, it's about proving I understand the importance of family and sharing. I'm at my wit's end. I worked myself to the bone for this apartment. It represents years of sacrifice, missed social events, cheap meals, and side hustles. But according to my family, none of that matters because Ashley needs it more and knows how to share. I'm tired of being painted as the villain for having boundaries and wanting to keep what I've earned. I'm tired of Ashley's weaponized incompetence being rewarded while my hard work is treated as a character flaw. Most of all, I'm tired of being told that loving my family means giving them everything I have while receiving nothing but criticism in return. Am I really selfish for wanting to keep my apartment? Should family really mean sacrificing everything you've worked for just because a sibling wants it? I feel like I'm going crazy here. Update 1 2 weeks later. Thank you all for the overwhelming support on my original post. I've read every comment and it's helped me realize I'm not losing my mind. I wanted to give you an update on the situation because it's somehow gotten even more absurd. After my post, I decided to have one more calm conversation with my parents. I sat them down and explained with actual numbers how much I had sacrificed to buy this apartment. I showed them my loan payments, my budgets from the past 5 years, the overtime hours I worked. I even calculated how many meals I had skipped or replaced with ramen to save money. Their response, my mother said, "We're not saying you didn't work hard, Michael. We're saying that now that you've succeeded, it's time to help your sister succeed too." My father added, "Ashley just needs a hand up. Once she's established, she'll be generous with you too." I asked them directly, what has Ashley done to work toward getting her own place? The silence was deafening. Then my mother said, "She's been focusing on her mental health and personal growth. Not everyone measures success in dollars and property, Michael." I couldn't help but laugh. So I should give her my success because she's been growing personally while living rent-free. That's when they dropped a bomb. Apparently, Ashley has been telling extended family and friends that I had promised her the apartment. She's been saying that we had an agreement that she could have it once I fixed it up and that I'm now backing out because I'm addicted to wealth hoarding. This explained why I'd been getting strange texts from cousins and aunts asking if I was okay and offering to mediate the apartment situation. Ashley had been laying groundwork for weeks, painting herself as the victim of my greed. But the real kicker came 3 days ago. I got a call from my building's property manager asking about the tour I had supposedly scheduled. When I said I hadn't scheduled anything, he informed me that a young woman claiming to be my sister had called to arrange a viewing for potential roommates since she would be taking over the lease soon. I immediately called Ashley. She didn't even try to deny it. Her exact words were, "I'm just being proactive. Mom and Dad said it's only a matter of time before you see reason. So I'm getting everything ready. I already found 2 friends who want to rent the bedroom while I take the living room. We'll split everything 3 ways, so it's actually more generous than you living there alone." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Ashley, it's not a rental. It's my apartment. I own it." "Exactly," she said. "And when you transfer it to me, I'll own it and I'll use it to help multiple people instead of just hoarding it for myself. I'm already showing everyone how selfish you are by comparison." That's when I realized she had been posting about this on social media. I don't follow her anymore for my own sanity, but a mutual friend sent me screenshots. She's been posting things like, "So blessed to have friends who understand the importance of sharing spaces and resources. Can't wait to start our communal living journey. Some people see property as possession. I see it as an opportunity to create community. Different values, I guess. Broken heart, counting down the days until I can turn a lonely bachelor pad into a space filled with love, laughter, and multiple souls supporting each other. Each post had dozens of comments from her friends congratulating her on her beautiful vision and saying things like, "Your brother doesn't know what he's missing," and "Family property should benefit everyone." I've had enough. I called a locksmith and changed all my locks. I installed a security camera. I also sent a formal text to Ashley and my parents stating that Ashley is no longer welcome in my apartment without my express permission and that any attempt to access it will be considered trespassing. The explosion was immediate. My phone blew up with calls and texts. My mother called me crying, saying I was declaring war on my own family. My father left a voicemail saying I had crossed a line and that they were disgusted by my behavior. Ashley posted a crying selfie with a caption, "When material possessions matter more than family, broken heart, crying face." But here's the thing. I'm done. I'm done feeling guilty for my success. I'm done being manipulated. I'm done watching Ashley weaponize our parents' enabling behavior. I'm done being treated like a bank account with no feelings. Several relatives have reached out after seeing Ashley's posts, and when I explain the situation, most are shocked. My aunt actually said, "I thought you had 2 apartments and were refusing to share one." The narrative Ashley has spun is so far from reality that people genuinely believed I was swimming in properties while she was homeless. I'm meeting with a lawyer next week to discuss my options. I want to make sure my apartment is legally protected and understand what my rights are regarding Ashley's harassment and defamation. For now, I'm staying strong, but I'd be lying if I said this wasn't taking a toll. I love my family, but I'm starting to realize that their definition of love seems to be give Ashley whatever she wants. Update 2. 1 month later, the situation has escalated to levels I never thought possible. After my last update, I genuinely thought things couldn't get worse. I was wrong. Following my lawyer's advice, I sent a formal cease and desist letter to Ashley regarding her false claims about my apartment and the defamatory posts on social media. I also included documentation of her attempting to schedule viewings without my permission. The lawyer suggested this would show I was serious about protecting my property and reputation. Ashley's response was to double down. She posted the letter on social media with the caption, "When your own brother sick lawyers on you for trying to find roommates for your future home. This is what greed does to people. Crying face, #family values, #choose love." The comments were brutal. People who didn't know the full story were calling me heartless, saying things like, "Imagine being so attached to property you'd sue your sister," and "This is why capitalism destroys families." Ashley basked in the sympathy, responding to comments with more lies about how I had multiple properties and was hoarding housing during a housing crisis. My parents, instead of seeing this as Ashley going too far, saw it as me escalating things unnecessarily. They called a family meeting at their house. I debated not going, but part of me hoped we could still resolve this like adults. The meeting was an ambush. When I arrived, not only were my parents and Ashley there, but also my Uncle James, my dad's brother, my Aunt Patricia, my mom's sister, and my grandmother. Ashley had clearly prepped them all with her version of events. As soon as I sat down, the guilt-tripping began. My grandmother, who I love dearly, looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Michael, I never thought I'd see the day when you choose property over family. This isn't how I raised your parents to raise you." I tried to explain the situation, but every time I spoke, Ashley would interrupt with dramatic sighs or start crying. She had a whole performance ready. She talked about how she's been struggling with depression because she feels like a failure compared to me. She claimed that having the apartment would give her the stability and purpose she needs to finally thrive. My Uncle James, who's a successful businessman, said, "Michael, I get it. You worked hard, but success means nothing if you can't lift others up. I didn't get where I am by being selfish." I couldn't help but respond, "Did you give your house to your siblings?" He got flustered and said, "That's different. They didn't need it." "Ashley doesn't need it either," I said. "She wants it. There's a difference." That's when my father stood up and pulled out a folder. "Michael, we didn't want to do this, but you forced our hand." He proceeded to show me itemized lists of everything they had spent on raising me. Food, clothes, school supplies, medical bills, even birthday presents. The total came to over $300,000. This is what we invested in you, he said. And unlike with Ashley, we never asked for anything back until now. Consider giving her the apartment as partial repayment for everything we've done for you. I was stunned. You're billing me for my childhood, my mother chimed in. We're not billing you. We're showing you that family is about give and take. We gave. Now it's your turn to give. I pointed out that they had spent likely the same, if not more, on Ashley, especially considering her extended college years and continued financial support. Their response, Ashley appreciates what we've done. You clearly don't. The meeting ended with an ultimatum. Either I sign over the apartment to Ashley by the end of the month, or they would cut me off entirely. No contact, no family events written out of the will, and they'd tell everyone I chose greed over family. I left without agreeing to anything. The next day, I noticed something strange. My credit monitoring app showed several credit inquiries. After investigating, I discovered that Ashley had been trying to apply for loans using my information. She had my SSN from family documents she had access to at our parents' house and was attempting to get pre-approved for mortgages, possibly thinking she could somehow use this to claim ownership of my apartment. I immediately froze my credit and filed a police report. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was identity theft. When the officer called Ashley for questioning, she broke down and admitted everything, but claimed it was a misunderstanding. She said she thought that since the apartment was going to be hers anyway, she was just getting a head start on building her credit. My parents begged me not to press charges. They said Ashley was confused and made a mistake in desperation. They offered a new deal. They would get Ashley's into therapy if I agreed to let her live in the apartment for just 1 year rent-free to get on her feet. I said, no, I'm done negotiating over my property. I'm done being manipulated. I'm done. The officer recommended I push forward with charges given the clear intent to commit fraud. I'm still deciding, but I'm leaning toward yes. Ashley needs to face real consequences for once in her life. Update 3. 6 weeks later. I thought I had seen the worst of the situation, but the past 6 weeks have shown me that there truly is no bottom to how low my family will sink. After I refused to drop the charges against Ashley for identity theft, my family went into full crisis mode. My parents hired a lawyer for her, and Ashley started playing the victim card harder than ever. She claimed she was having a mental health crisis and that the stress of being rejected and betrayed by her brother led her to make poor decisions. Her lawyer managed to get her a plea deal, probation, community service, and mandatory therapy, no jail time. I wasn't happy about it, but at least it was on her record. What really bothered me was that my parents paid for everything and acted like she was the victim of the justice system rather than someone who had committed a crime. During this time, something interesting happened. My cousin Sarah, who had initially believed Ashley's sob story, reached out to me. She said she had been following the drama on social media and something didn't add up. When she pressed Ashley for details about why I had promised her the apartment, Ashley's story kept changing. First it was a verbal promise, then it was implied. Then it was what I owed the family. Sarah did some digging and discovered that Ashley had been telling different stories to different people. To some, I had inherited the apartment and was refusing to share. To others, our parents had bought it for both of us. To her closest friends, she claimed I had actually stolen her down payment money to buy it for myself. Sarah shared all of this with other family members, and slowly the tide began to turn. My Aunt Patricia called me to apologize, saying she had been manipulated by a master. My Uncle James reached out and said while he still thought I could be more generous, he understood that Ashley had crossed serious lines. This shift in family opinion sent my parents into overdrive. They couldn't stand that people were seeing Ashley as anything other than a victim. So they decided to escalate things to a nuclear level. 3 weeks ago, I received a formal letter from a lawyer. My parents were suing me. Their claim, unjust enrichment. They alleged that the financial support they provided during my childhood and teen years was given with the implicit understanding that I would support the family in return and that my refusal to share my property constituted a breach of this implied contract. Their lawyer had drafted a complaint stating that since they had invested over $300,000 in raising me, and since I had achieved financial success partly due to their investment, I owed them a fiduciary duty to assist with family members in need. They were seeking either a transfer of the apartment to a family trust, controlled by them, of course, or monetary damages equivalent to the apartment's value. I couldn't believe it. My parents were literally suing me for being born and raised by them. My lawyer, who I was now paying significantly to deal with the circus, laughed when he read it. He said it was one of the most frivolous lawsuits he'd ever seen and that no court would take it seriously. Parents can't sue children for the costs of raising them, and there's no implicit contract to share future assets. But here's where it gets even crazier. Ashley, emboldened by our parents' support and frustrated that her identity theft charges didn't just disappear, decided to take matters into her own hands. She started a GoFundMe titled "Help Me Escape My Toxic Brother's Financial Abuse." In it, she claimed I had manipulated our parents into giving me more support during childhood. I had stolen money meant for her education. I had promised her the apartment if she helped me through college. Completely false. I was now using my wealth and power to persecute her legally. She needed money to find her own place since her abusive brother wouldn't share his multiple properties. She set the goal at $50,000 conveniently, about the down payment for a similar apartment. The GoFundMe was shared widely in her social circles and started gaining traction. People who didn't know the real story were donating and leaving supportive comments. Someone even shared it in a local Facebook group for victims of financial abuse. I had to take action. I consulted with my lawyer about defamation, and we sent a cease and desist to GoFundMe with evidence of Ashley's lies. The fundraiser was taken down after a review, but not before she had raised almost $3,000. When the GoFundMe was removed, Ashley lost it. She showed up at my workplace causing a scene in the lobby, screaming that I was destroying her life and that I owed her a home. Security had to escort her out, and I had to explain the situation to my boss and HR. Thankfully, they were understanding and even offered to help me get a restraining order. The restraining order was granted after I showed the judge the pattern of harassment, the identity theft, and the workplace incident. Ashley was ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from me, my home, and my workplace. You'd think this would be rock bottom, but no. My parents' response to the restraining order was to claim I was criminalizing normal family disagreements and using the system to abuse my own sister. Last week, I received another letter. This time, my parents were threatening to go public with the truth about who Michael really is. They plan to contact my employer, my friends, and even create a website detailing how I'm a sociopathic money hoarder who abandoned his family. My lawyer is now preparing defamation suits against all three of them. I never wanted it to come to this, but they've left me no choice. They've tried to steal from me, sue me, defame me, and destroy my life. All because I won't give my sister my apartment. Final update. 3 months later, I'm writing this final update for my apartment. Yes, my apartment which I still own. Despite my family's best efforts, the last 3 months have been a whirlwind of legal proceedings, family drama, and personal growth. Let me catch you up on where everyone stands now. First, the lawsuits. My parents' unjust enrichment suit was dismissed with prejudice, exactly as my lawyer predicted. The judge actually seemed annoyed that it was even filed, stating that parental obligations do not create debt instruments, and that the claim was wholly without merit. My parents were ordered to pay my legal fees, which they're now trying to appeal. The defamation case is ongoing, but it's looking good for me. We have extensive documentation of all the lies spread on social media, the false GoFundMe, and the threats to contact my employer. My lawyer is confident we'll win, and we're seeking both compensatory and punitive damages. Ashley's situation has spiraled further. After the restraining order, she apparently had a breakdown and was hospitalized for a psychiatric evaluation. During her stay, it came out that she had been lying to her therapist too, claiming I had been financially abusing her for years. When the therapist tried to verify her claims and discovered the truth, Ashley was diagnosed with several personality disorders that I won't speculate on. But let's just say, manipulation and refusal to accept responsibility are core features. The most shocking revelation came from my grandmother, who reached out last month to apologize. She told me that Ashley had been stealing from her for months. Small amounts from her purse jewelry that she claimed was lost, and even using her credit card for online purchases. My grandmother had suspected, but didn't want to believe it until she saw Ashley's pattern of behavior with me. This led to a larger family reckoning. It turns out Ashley had borrowed money from multiple relatives, always with elaborate sob stories, and never paid anyone back. She had told our Uncle James that she needed money for medical bills. She told our Aunt Patricia she needed money for job training. She never attended, and told several cousins she needed money for therapy, which she spent on vacation. The family members who had initially supported her were horrified to realize they'd been enablers. My Uncle James called me to apologize profusely, saying he was ashamed of lecturing me about generosity when I was the only one who had seen Ashley clearly. As for my parents, they're in complete denial. Even with all the evidence of Ashley's behavior, they insist she's just misunderstood and crying out for help. They've refinanced their house to pay for her legal fees, therapy, and living expenses. They're still not speaking to me, and honestly, I'm okay with that. The workplace incident had an unexpected positive outcome. My company was so impressed with how I handled the situation that they actually promoted me. My boss said it showed exceptional judgment under pressure and strong personal boundaries, qualities they value in leadership. The promotion came with a substantial raise, which I'm putting toward therapy, and a nice vacation once this is all over. Speaking of therapy, I've been going regularly, and it's helped me understand so much about my family dynamics. My therapist helped me see that I've been the family scapegoat my entire life, expected to achieve, but never acknowledged, while Ashley was the golden child who could do no wrong. It's helped me process the grief of losing the family I thought I had, while appreciating the chosen family I've built with friends who actually support me. Ashley, last I heard through the legal grapevine, is living with my parents and working part-time at a retail store. She's banned from all major social media platforms for harassment and creating fake accounts to circumvent blocks. She apparently still tells people I stole her apartment, but most people have learned to take her stories with a grain of salt. The restraining order was renewed for another year after she was caught driving slowly past my building multiple times. She didn't violate the distance requirement technically, but the pattern was concerning enough for the judge to extend it. As for the apartment itself, I love it more than ever. It's not just a place to live. It's a symbol of my independence, my hard work, and my ability to stand up for myself. I finished furnishing it, made it truly mine, and even hosted a few dinner parties for my real friends. Every morning when I wake up in my bed, in my room, in my apartment, I'm grateful I didn't cave to the pressure. I've gone no contact with my parents and Ashley. I've blocked them on everything. And honestly, my life has been so much more peaceful. The family members who saw the truth have been supportive, and I'm building individual relationships with them separate from my parents' influence. The money I would have spent on family obligations, I'm using it to live my life. I took a cooking class, joined a gym, started investing more aggressively, and yes, I'm saving for a second property, not to share, but as an investment for my future. To everyone who supported me throughout this insane journey, thank you. To everyone who called me selfish or thought I should have just given in to keep the peace, I hope you never have to learn the hard way that keeping the peace sometimes means losing yourself. To anyone dealing with similar family dynamics, know this. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You are not selfish for having boundaries. You are not a bad person for protecting what you've worked for. And you are definitely not wrong for expecting the people who claim to love you to respect your decisions and achievements. My family thought they could break me down, guilt me into submission, and take what I had earned. They thought wrong. I'm still here, still in my apartment, and stronger than ever. And Ashley, she's still posting on whatever platform hasn't banned her yet. Still playing the victim, still waiting for someone else to give her the life she thinks she deserves. But that someone will never be me. This is Michael signing off from my apartment, where I'll be living my life on my terms. And honestly, it feels fantastic.